Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Networking Mondays. We're very glad you're with us. It's Monday, April 12th, 2021. For those people on Zoom, if you have a question, as soon as you think about something, just enter them right into the chat box. And for those people watching on Facebook, please just enter your question in the comment field. I am monitoring that feed, and I'll be sure to get those questions asked to our speaker. Please note this event is currently being recorded and is currently live on Facebook. The recording will be on the Career FW Facebook page and on the Career USA YouTube channel for others to view in the future. By participating in this event, and if you post a comment in the chat box or have your microphone or camera on, you give consent for your comments, name, and picture to appear. Well, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Jeff Morris. Back in 2008, I founded CareerDFW.org to help those in the Dallas-Fort Worth area in their job search. In 2012, I started CareerUSA.org to help people outside the Dallas-Fort Worth area. I've written a book called What I've Learned About Your Job Search That You May Not Know. It is available on Amazon. Since 2007, I've been facilitating and leading the North Dallas Plano Career Focus Group, and I'll tell you about our upcoming speaker at the end of this program. And since 2017, I've been a member of the practice interview team. Well, each week we have a different speaker talking about networking. And the reason for this is that everybody has a little bit different point of view about networking, how you can handle networking, what to do about networking. So I've got a great lineup of people. We've already had 2, 4, 6, 7 people talk the last 7 weeks. This week, week number 8, and then we've got 7 or 8 more people lined up, and I'm still finding new speakers to add on. So just keep joining us every week for a great session on networking. Today, our speaker is Walt Glass. He's going to talk about networking and informational interviewing. So Walt, thank you for being with us, and take it away.
Got covered. Oh, no. Well, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome. Who am I? Okay, I'll tell you who I am. I'm a retired guy. Worked for about 40 years in information technology. Focusing now in my retirement on job search and specifically with interviewing skills. Was born when I just flat failed an interview. If your grades were A through F, I was around K or L or something like that. It was really bad. So I decided to get a little bit more intelligent about how to interview. So I do that, and I offer a workshop. It's a free workshop. Look me up on LinkedIn. It gives you details about it. It's held on Zoom on Tuesdays around 10 to 12. I only do 2 people at a time, very informal. And we pay attention to the basics of understanding how to sell, who we are, what we do, and how we help. I hear a lot of I do's in interviews. I don't hear very much of who we are, hear a little bit, and I almost hear none of how we can help. So how can we do that? So that's what the workshop focuses on. It's informal. You can pause, you can think, you can start over, we can have a good time. I call it learning without squirming. So send me an email if you'd like to register. Now it's interesting, though, that I like to say, well, I've taught the interviewing side, so let me get to the informational interviewing side where we get to be the interviewer. So I like to give you a couple of statistics up front. We're going to talk about a few polls. We're going to talk about networking a little bit. Then we're going to talk about informational interviewing specifically. I'm going to look at the steps. So about referrals. How can we get some referrals? What kind of questions? How to handle the open, the questions, the close, that sort of thing, and then some follow-up. So that's what we're going to talk about today. So LinkedIn did a survey, and you can find different percentages, but most people agree somewhere between the 70 and 85% range, jobs are not posted publicly. Companies, when they're looking to hire someone, generally the first thing they do is they'll ask if anyone knows an internal referral. Does anyone know somebody? Secondly, they may post it internally. And then third, they'll go public with it. Now, some companies are required to go public, and there's some regulations and rules for federal and things like that they'll post. But some people call it the hidden job market. Jack Beck has changed his term. If you know Jack Beck, he's a job search coach. and he talks about the discovery job market. We go out and discover the jobs that are out there. So a lot of jobs are really not posted. Secondly, 70 to 85% of the time, job seekers really spend in their pajamas, I guess, surfing the net and looking for these opportunities. And you sign up for a job board, and you want to be a plumber, and you get all these things for a dance instructor, and who knows what you get when they find out it doesn't match at all, and it's just an absolute mess. And it's about a 2% return on that. A lot of people can count the activity as posting and looking for jobs online as quality job search time, when actually it's not. Not that you don't do it, you just don't do it all the time. You spend a small amount of time doing that. And 85% of the jobs are filled through networking, through some connection, some contact. And 40% of the jobs are filled through referrals. This is where we like to aim. We'd love to get a referral. That puts you to the top of the list. It's almost like if you get a referral, it's your job to lose. So that would be ideal for us. So we'll talk a little bit about that. But only about 7% of job searchers out there that use referrals don't work at trying to get them and do that. So we got some challenges with networking. It's a little bit awkward for us. So let's focus a little bit on that, and specifically on the informational interviewing today. So let me ask you this question. How many days a week do you spend applying online? And I'm giving you somewhere between less than a day to over 5 days a week. So let's get a little understanding of what that's all about. And we've got 60% voted so far. We're climbing up a little bit. I guess everybody's voted that's going to vote. So I'm going to do a little screen capture of this and save that offline so I can use that later. All right, so the poll results show us that it's pretty even, somewhere around the 1 day, 1 to 2 days, and then jumping down to 3 to 4 days. So we're sharing the results, Jeff?
Yes, we are.
See? Yeah, okay, everybody can see them?
Yeah.
So the recommended amount of time spent applying online is 10 to 15% of your job search time max. And it's not done during the major hours of working with people, which are Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. So this is time on weekends, nights, and things like that that you can spend part of your time applying. So yeah, you can apply for some jobs, but it takes a lot of time, a lot of work, and a lot of effort to apply. So apply wisely can help you reduce the amount of wasted time where you won't not very productive. But these kind of percentages show about the same, that somewhere spends probably more time applying online than we really should. We should be spending time doing some networking and some other activities that have a much better production rate and success rate in our job search. So now let me ask you this: same set of answers, but how many days a week do you really spend in networking? Networking is trying to reach people. Some of them I'm going to include as making a list of people that you spend working to that, preparation, time, things like that, that all involve not just an actual phone call or an actual meeting, but all the work that goes towards success in networking.
And for those on Facebook, just enter A, B, C, D, E, or F into the comment field.
Somebody has something you say, like, I spend 12 days a week doing this, let me know. Somebody said, I don't have enough time. And I said, well, I'm sorry, you got all there is. Okie doke. Let me capture this right quick. This is for my future reference and knowledge. All right, so less than 1 day, 16%, 1 to 2 days, third, almost a third, 2 to 3, 12%. That's 3 people. 3 to 4 is 5, or 4 to 5 is 2, and greater than 5 days is 3. So greater than 5 days is huge for the people that are doing that. So that tells me where you are in your job search, and we'll talk a little bit of time. I'll spend a little bit of time on this too. But most of us are spending some time with that. So you have to ask yourself, where is my productive time? How much time should I spend doing this? And since we can hit that hidden job market by targeting a company, and we care not whether there's a job opportunity there or not. There does not have to be a job opportunity. There's just be a company that I'd like to work for. Let me see if I can't find out some information, because I like to sow some seeds, which I'll talk about too, out there, so that when it rains, these seeds will grow and be fertile, and my name will come up. So thank you for participating in those polls. Now let's talk about what do we have to do before we actually start networking. There's some things that we should accomplish and do. So I've tried to list them here, and you might think of some others. If you have some others, let me know. Just open up your audio and talk to me. I would love to have people communicate and talk to me during this thing. So we need to know, what is our value? We'll call it unique value proposition. Jack Bake likes to call it the unique selling proposition. And the reason I put that in there is because I want to remind us that we're in the selling situation. Our value is what we are selling, because it's a selling situation. So what is it that we offer a company, basically? So we have to have some sort of resume. We might need to pull that out at any time that it's appropriate. I highly suggest that we have a biography. It's, I think, a greater tool to use in networking than the resume, because it doesn't say I'm looking for a job. It says here's information about me. And so we can talk about our values and beliefs and things like that. That can help us match. And our attributes, achievements, inventory. So who are we? How will we describe ourselves? How do others describe us? What are our positive attributes? And our achievements. That's a list of specific value that we bring. What have you achieved? Our references need to be ready. You need to do due diligence and have your references ready. And a prioritized list of your target industry. I got to fix that slide because it's got a misspelling. And the companies. So where are you headed? What's your target? Where are you going? What information do you need? What company you're interested in, et cetera. And then research your potential connections. And I'm going to put in parentheses here about Crystal Knows. There is a session that Patty Bache gave on Crystal Knows in one of the Friday sessions that Jeff has out on the Career USA YouTube channel that talks a little bit about that. And so it seems to be a fairly good tool to find out about a person on LinkedIn, and it gives you some information and insight to them based on that. So that's a possibility. But anyway, researching them, and it might be simply, I'm asking Jeff, I said, Jeff, I noticed you talked to Jason, and I guess Jason he works with a group over at the church off of 635. And so how do you know Jason and what information? Because I'm interested in talking to Jason about something, and I will test how Jeff knows Jason so that when I want to talk to Jason, I can reference that and say, I understand that, you know, Jeff, he works with this, and Jason says, yeah, whatever it is, you know, we have an introduction like that. So research those connections and find out. Research the companies before you walk in. Don't walk in blind. Don't walk in dumb where you just don't know anything. Research some things that have some knowledge, because it'll give you a good base of what questions you might want to ask. Do you realize that we are always networking? We're given an image of ourselves today through this chat through the participants window. So I can look and I can see people. Some people I can't see. I see the black screen of doom with a name on it. So I don't really know what you look like, don't know who you are. This would be a good chance for you to practice your background and have stuff on Zoom, because that would be something that might be important. And then engaging during the conversation would be great. You could be networking through that. And on Just Friday group, he works hard to help with networking, with getting people's target companies and address and name and things like that. Puts it out so people can help with getting referrals and getting information for informational interviews. So what do we do? Well, you have to have targets. One is, who are the people that have the information we seek? So we're looking for some information. So who are those people? I got to find out who they are. Which ones would be the ones I could talk to? They have the knowledge, experience, expertise in a particular area that I'm interested in. And when I'm looking at a target company, I'm looking for people inside of that company or inside the target industry segments. So I want to target these people to talk to in the informational interviewing and networking. We all probably have heard about the 6 degrees of separation. You can find any other person in the world through 6 links maximum, statistically proven. But the magic is that 2 links have a 50% chance of success in finding another person. So here's the question we ask. We don't just say, do you know anyone that works at ABC? We say, do you know anyone, or do you know someone who knows anyone who works at ABC? I ask for the 1st degree and the 2nd degree, and I have a 50% chance of success of hitting somebody that knows someone at that particular company. It's an amazing statistic. People are surprised sometimes of meeting somebody and find out that they both know someone else. And they're really surprised by that. But the statistics work out the other ways, that you shouldn't be surprised. We know a lot of people. And so it happens quite often. We can use that to our advantage. So networking. I like to define networking as relationshiping and helping others. Sometimes in the job search world, we use networking as a process to help me find a job. And that's a little bit limited of a definition, because when you really network with people, you want to build a relationship and you want to continue that relationship and keep it up. And the way you can help others is primary in our minds for building that relationship in the networking. So how do I build a relationship? By helping others, finding out what I can do for them. I used to teach leadership development, and one of the things that would happen with employees, they might have a death in the family, might have something serious, someone in the hospital, something really strong going on with them. And most people would say, well, if you need any help, let me know. Have you ever heard people say that? Maybe we've said it ourselves. We talked to somebody and said, well, if you need something, let me know. Well, how many people follow up with that? Almost no one will call back, and ask for help. So the secret is determine the need and provide the help. That's the secret. What's the need? And then I will help you with that. So we do a lot better job of building relationships by determining their needs, their information, of the things that they're looking for, how we can make their job easier or whatever it might be, and providing that. That is the second step that really differentiates us between a connection and a contact. And I'll talk about that, because contacts are something that we know really little about. They don't know much about us. And what we like to do is look at that list of contacts and say, who are the people in our contacts that I want to develop into a connection, i.e. a relationship? So we can start with that list, but I'm going to differentiate my definition of contacts and connections. I think most of our LinkedIn connections are contacts. They are not connections. We don't know them very well. If you took your list of connections in LinkedIn and prioritize them to the amount that they know you and you know them, and put them in an ABC type category, then you're really developing that. Here's my true connections. And then here's some contacts that I would like to develop into a connection because they are placed in a way or have the information that I'm seeking. So we could take those connections and rate them by the knowledge about us. You probably heard it's not who you know anymore. It's who knows us. So the idea is to get people to understand about us. So, the coworkers that we've had in the past know us pretty well professionally. That's why we might use some of them as references, some managers that we've had, supervisors, because they know us and they can talk to other people about us in a very positive manner. We can rate them high, medium, and low. How much knowledge do they really have? Do they have really significant knowledge? Yeah. No, I've worked now with Jeff for several years. I know a little bit more about him than I know somebody that I've only known for a few months. Or medium. Some people have some knowledge, but not a whole lot of in-depth knowledge. And then there's the lows who have little knowledge. That kind of falls into the world of a contact. But I want to make them a connection. So I'll put them in the connection list because these are the people that I would like to have more knowledge about me. And then we can rate them by their willingness to help us. All right. High are the people who are happy to help. Just be glad to help you. Just go out of their way to help you. Don't let you go until they get something done for you, whatever. The medium will provide some help, and then some, for whatever reason, no help. So yeah, they may know us well, but they're not going to help us. So we need to figure out amongst our relationships and our connections how they rank according to how much they know us and how willing they are to help. And then once we have that, we can focus on a prioritized list. And so an A1 should be, at the top of the list. They know a lot about us and they're happy to help. And A2 would be pretty well. So they're high in knowledge and give some help. All right. Then there's the Bs. All right. So you can kind of prioritize that and say, all right, here's how I can effectively use my networking with knowing which people I can connect to and contact to find out the information that I'm looking for. So there's a process for accomplishing that. And always remember that we are continually expanding our connections. This doesn't stop after job search. You do this even when you're working at a job. All right, let's talk about referrals. Now, referrals are different than just an informational interview when you're looking for information. It's a specific type, but referrals are key. And I mentioned that only 7% people use referrals, and we want to increase that percentage by us using referrals more. So there's cold calls when your referral source is passive. So I'm talking to Jason and he says, oh yeah, I know PJ Dunn. Call him and just tell him that I said to you, I said to call him. And so that's the help you get. So that's kind of a passive help. It is some help, but it's not a whole lot, but it's still worthwhile. All right. Then there's the warm calls, and we have good, better, and best calls with warm calls. Good. I'll use Jason again. I know Jason, and he said, okay, well, I think you ought to talk to Jeff. And so I'm going to contact Jeff and you. So he might send out an email and says, hi, Jeff, I want you to meet Walt. And Walt, I want you to meet Jeff. I think it would be great if you two talk together. Here's your contact information for each other, and then kind of steps aside and says, okay, we take over from that point. But that's a very, very positive thing. That phone call will happen. That will occur. Both parties are already in line to do that. That will probably suggest. It also depends on the relationship that Jason has with Jeff. One of the things we want to know when we get referrals is, how do you know Jeff? What do you know about Jeff? I just know he does some group on Friday. So is it that level, or is it, we've known each other for 10 years. We used to work together, et cetera, et cetera. And then there's the best, where, so I'm going to get a meeting together, and we're going to have all of us talk together. And so we'll have a trilateral meeting, and I'll introduce you face-to-face, person-to-person. It could be by Zoom, could be face-to-face. And then a hot call. Now, I want to differentiate sales, cool, warm, and hot from referrals, cool, warm, and hot, because in sales, cool, warm, and hot is defined by the amount of information you know about your contact. If you know a lot of information, they call that a hot call. But I'm talking about referrals, and so it's a little bit different definition. But here's where, and I've had a person that I've referred to, and so I followed up with the person that I gave the name, and I followed up with a person that I used as the referral. And I said, have you had a chance, did so-and-so call you? And he sent me like an email and said, I've already called him. All right. So the referral took the action to call that person. That's a hot call, where the referral calls us. They don't wait for us to call them. That's a person who is high on the willingness to help scale. Unfortunately, it's still a funnel, and it still takes some time and effort and energy and several people and lots of things to make this successful. So perseverance is required. So maybe you know the parable of the sower in Matthew 13. We can use it here for our business purposes, where in Matthew, there's a parable about, a farmer goes out to sow his seed. Some fell on the path, birds ate it up. Some fell on rocky places, didn't spring up quickly because the soil was shallow. And then when the sun came up, some plants were scorched and they withered because they had no root. Other seed fell among thorns, grew up, choked the plants, and still others fell on good soil where it produced a crop 160 or 30 times was sown. So how does that apply to networking? Well, the hard ground says people hear what we say, but they don't do anything. They just, I understand, I heard what you said, I'm done, all right? So they don't accept anything as any type of responsibility to do anything. The stony ground, people hear, they show interest, they're aware of it. Again, they don't do much of anything. The thorny ground says, hey, I heard what you said, but I'm so busy. And that a lot of people fall in that category. I'm too busy to help. Therefore, we always should make it easy for people to help us. We need to go out of our way to make it very easy and simple for them. They don't have to spend a lot of work, time, effort, and energy to help us. And then there's the fertile ground. They hear, they take actions, and the rewards are reaped. So we're going to find that in our efforts for networking and informational interviewing, looks like 1, 2, and 3, hard, stony, and thorny, are not going to work out, and the fertile ground does. So we have to have that funnel. We have to persevere. We have to keep working and trying. So I'm going to turn it around and say, well, what ground do you represent? What do we represent? So if somebody calls me and said, I'm interested in getting some help, what would you do? Who am I? Am I a hard, stony, thorny, or fertile ground person? I have found that job seekers seem to be a lot more willing to help others when they're in the job search than they do when they're employed. Job seekers who have recently gotten a job are more willing to help people. People who haven't looked for a job in many years fall amongst the more of the hard ground arena. They don't understand what it's like. They don't have a lot of empathy or sympathy or whatever. So we ought to look at ourselves as well as looking at others to measure these grounds. So end up networking with nurture your network. Keep in touch, live the golden rule. How can I help you? And remember, we connect with them in their world and not ours. So let's get through networking by saying, what's the key to successful networking? Build relationships first. So we want to build relationships now because, when you say, gee, you only call me when you need some help, then that's my kids, right? Need some money, whatever it might be. You don't ever call me then unless when you call me and say, what's wrong now? What's going on? So we want to build relationships first, ask for assistance second, and offer to be of assistance always. All right. Any questions on networking a little bit? I know there's a lot of other speakers speaking a lot more details about that area. I want to spend just a little bit of time on that to set the tone and the stage and the context for informational interviewing. Any comments? Not questions, but comments. Anybody want to add anything?
Hi.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Go ahead. I can wait.
Oh, well, this is Terry Wallace. When you're asking to build that relationship, you're asking first, how would you approach somebody that was kind of a cold, like a hiring manager or an HR person? How would you reach out? What would you say? Other than, hey, I'm so-and-so and we have you might not know me, but I'd like to reach out, I'd like to talk to you. I mean, what's a good way to get somebody to open up?
Stay tuned for part 2.
Okay. All right.
It's a great anticipatory question. Yeah, we're gonna try to get into that. I'm a very practical person, and so people says, "Oh, you need to go out and network. Oh, you not can go out and do information interviews." Well, can you help me get started? I'm kind of having trouble with it. So we're gonna dive into that a little. Anything else? Who else was going to have a comment?
Christina, you had a question or a comment?
Sure. I find that the last couple months, I've been struggling with making those connections interested in helping me or even answering me. And I'm pretty good at reaching out and talking to people. I don't have a problem with that. But yeah, I'm struggling with them wanting to help me. Maybe that's
Okay.
the better point. When you reach out and you talk to them, I've had one person say they weren't interested in helping me because they have other friends that are unemployed. They're going to help them first, which I'm okay with. And then I usually just have people say, no, I can't do that. You know, our company doesn't allow that to happen. At least they're being honest, you know, when they say that. And then a
Right.
lot of people just say, no, I just can't do it. So that's the problem I'm having. And talking to other people, it's growing. And I don't know if it's the fear that people have about losing their jobs or what it is. It's just, or maybe it's just because there are millions of us looking for work. I don't know what it is, but that's my struggle. How do we bridge that gap of meeting the right people? Because I just call and say, hey, I need some advice. And
Right.
that's all. I never ask them for a job or anything. And I just tell them,
Right.
you know, what I'm doing and what are your advice? And just a few people said, look for jobs on our website. I'll find out who the manager is and you can contact them.
Right.
But
Right.
it doesn't, that's all the further it goes. You know, I don't contact those managers is still dead space, but that's another story.
There's a lot of the hard, thorny, stony ground out there. And it also depends on whether you're asking for information or asking for a referral, which are two different situations when you're asking for. So if you have graded them, and find out to grade them on their knowledge about you and their willingness to help, that will help you determine where you make more bang for the buck. But at the same time, yes, you're going to get that. So some of the things we can talk about a little bit is how people give us responses like that, and what can we say to maybe address that to maybe move it further along. We'll talk a little bit about that.
Okay. But I
Okay.
do find I get more response when I say, hey, I need some advice.
I like
Everybody's,
the advice. I think
Yeah.
advice is a key word. And I'll talk about that because I'm going to give you a couple of ideas and scripts about talking about it. So the word advice is in every one of those.
Okay,
I don't try.
great. Thanks.
All right. Anyone else? Okay, everybody that's awake, go to your participant window and clap hands. All right, let's move on. What is informational interviewing? Why do we want to have them? What keeps us from doing them? And what are the steps of the informational interviewing? So let's define it kind of clear. So here we're in charge, right? We're trying to gain knowledge, information from a person that has the knowledge and experience, all right? So we are researching in our job search before we actually pursue an open position or even a position that may not be publicly posted. It's featuring a conversation. I want to really stress the word conversation about career, company, industry, whatever information that you're looking for as far as in the job search to maybe help us get a job by giving us information that will help us make decisions or by giving us referrals directly, indirectly. And it's a great way to use the front door into getting into a target company. The back door is the application to the posted job online. We're only looking at 15%. We're competing with hundreds of other candidates. At one time, when Toyota was moving here and they were posting jobs, they said they would get 3,000 applications to a particular job posting. I mean, that's just astronomical, but that was the opportunity. A lot of people wanted to move here to work, not just the people that live here. A lot of people were willing to move to Dallas too. So how do you handle that? So we like to handle the front door rather than the back door. So why have them? Well, here's a bunch of reasons why we like to have them. Number one, I put the I help side, all right, to discover what we can do for them, all right? We don't want to attack it with, here's what you can do for me on the first. We want to know our relationship with them. If I just pick up the phone and said, hi, Christina, I'm seeking some advice to help me with, that's kind of a blunt, direct activity that we might soften a little bit. I can remember I was talking with someone, and I'm a pretty blunt guy, okay? I just kind of lay it out there. And so I said something and somebody said, can you put a little candy with that? I mean, that was kind of hard. Can you sweeten that up just a little bit and soften it? And so that's a skill I need to work on. I really feel that people ought to know where they stand. I think you ought to be blunt with them, all right, candid, all that sort of thing, but not rude. And so I'm trying to back off of that just a little bit so I can say, well, let me make it a little bit more personable. Instead of walking in and saying you're fired or why or am I keeping you working here, I would say, what's going on? What's happening? What's happening here? Maybe they got some problem. Maybe it's my fault. I'd say, all right, we want to get firsthand information from an expert, somebody that has expertise in what we're seeking. And we want to say is, let's check out. Here's where I'm headed. Let me tell you where I'm headed. Does that sound right to you? Am I on the right path? That would be something maybe I want to find out. What are the trends going on? I could find out something about them. Well, basically, find out specific information about anything we choose to find out. We also can get more personal and subjective information. The web and researching things online doesn't give you the personal touch about things. People can say, well, yeah, we have a promote from within policy. And just the way they say it tells me it's not really working, all right? But they might in the web say we have a promote from within policy, right? And we can't get the difference between that. So let's get an assessment about, here's our background. So here's the strengths that I have. How do you think that might fit into a role like this? Or what are the strengths you see that would be into a role of the kind of job that I'm pursuing, right? That kind of information. Let's find out about the industry, the company, etc. We can also find out information that will improve our negotiation skills and find out if we want to work there. If we talk about the problems and challenges and what's going on inside a company, so we're doing a company research interview, find out what's going on there. You say, I don't think I want to work here. I might be a person that says, yeah, I'd like to get in this role. And say, well, we just changed CEOs and we're looking at reducing staff and headcount or whatever it might be. He says, well, I might want to put my time and energy elsewhere. This doesn't look like the place I want to join that's in the current downsizing mode. But don't forget this, everybody's hiring, every company hires. They're all in a hiring. You find a good person that fits into the culture that can help you in this company do what you're trying to achieve, you will get a job, all right? There doesn't have to be one posted. They got a great person. They don't want to let them go because we are hard to find. And then build rapport, make that connection. And then in that connection, they give them some knowledge about us, knowledge about them they know a little bit about, they are willing to take your name forward. Tell me if there's anybody that disagrees with this. If I'm going to give a referral, or if you're going to give a referral, you're concerned about burning your reputation with the person you're talking to. Anybody not have that feeling? I don't know if for me to put my name on the line and recommend you and you don't work out, I have damaged my relationship with that person. We all have that concern. So what can we do to stop that kind of feeling? What can we do to help them not feel damage to that? All right.
Walt, Phil asked, when they say they have a promote from within policy, is that a turnoff statement saying that we're wasting our time looking there?
I would say no. I would say no at all, because I worked in a company that was one of the policies. That's one of the reasons I picked it. But I was concerned over the long term of inbreeding. So while I practiced the promote from within policy, I also wanted to hire a certain percentage of people externally to keep fresh ideas and fresh approaches going. So even though a company has that policy, that does not mean they don't hire externally either. Remember, if you can supply the need, you fit the culture, you're the person, that's what we sell. When we sell that, if they don't want us, that's fine. We've done our job of selling that. So when you sell your value, they will find out whether they want to buy it or not. And, I can remember when prior to downsizing, what does a company do? We freeze hiring. All right. So here's a company. We freeze all hiring. Okay. So we have about 60,000 employees. So we only hired 100 the first month after we froze hiring. So it still happens, okay? It could be a warning sign, but I would just sell what you got and not worry about it. Don't let something be a potential barrier. Just go ahead and go for the goal.
I mean, I would
I
think most companies are going to have we're going to hire first from within because they want to encourage their own employees to, to apply for jobs if they think they're qualified.
Right. We would like to build from within the company and give them the chance to grow first, but that doesn't mean you can't do both.
Right. Thank you.
All right. Yeah, anytime there's an either or situation, call me and I'll give you a process for figuring out how to do both, because that's the goal. Be surprised at how creative we can be. Okay. Poll. There are challenges in informational interviews. So I'd like you to answer the questions. Do you feel like you're ready? You're not connected enough. I'm really not good enough. I don't know how to initiate it. I find it difficult to ask for help. And I don't want somebody to tell me that I'm not doing what I think I should be doing. All right, here's my path. And somebody comes, oh, that's wrong completely. And I don't want to hear that. And that's kind of a subtle thing. But put in there where you think the most significant answer. You might have several of them that fit you, but pick one you think is the most significant barrier to keep you from doing an informational interview. Okay. Got that one saved. So results. I'm not ready yet. Now, if that falls into the category of the slide that I said, you need to be prepared for these things prior to an informational interview, I will accept that, right? Because those are the things I think if you've got those. So, but I'll go back. You say, well, I've been working on my resume for 6 years, and I think I'll be done with it in the next month or two. I still want to revise it. And so how many times are you going to tweak your resume and say it's finally ready? Does everybody get to the point where it says, I'm really comfortable with my resume? And it's kind of hard to get there. We want to fix it and do this, and then we got to do the applicant tracking system junk, and then we got to do this and that, and got to do it on LinkedIn, or et cetera, et cetera. Settle down, get it done, get to some point and go with it. And you don't have to be 100% right, correct, or best to move forward. All right. I've got enough. I can start with some of these things. So, but if you just say, I'm not ready yet, and I'm not doing anything about those things on the list, then your priorities are start doing those things on the list so that you can then say, okay, I'm not prepared. I think I can move forward. Connected enough. Wow. I wonder what we need to do about that. So if you haven't gone to a company that you might be interested in and look at connections and seeing first and maybe no first, but seconds, and say, okay, who are the seconds, and start working with that. That's how you start building your connections. Where can I find the expertise? Well, I'm looking for somebody in that. So Jeff has run into a ton of people. Jason's run into a ton of people who work in different areas, know different things, and I'll bet you they know somebody that has the knowledge and expertise that you might need, right? And so, Jason, I saw you. I was on the same Zoom call with you, and I know that you do this, and I'm interested in talking about that. Would you know somebody who would have that knowledge and expertise that I could gain some advice from? All right. We'll talk about specifics on asking, but that's the kind of thing we can do. We can easily build our connections easily. I'm not good at networking. Well, let's see if we can't pay attention a little bit of that today to help you move forward with it. I don't know how to initiate. We'll pay attention a little bit to that. I find it difficult to ask for help. I'm going to pay significant attention to that. One slide is devoted to that entirely, and I'm going to regret it. So most of us are really finding it difficult to ask for help, and I'm not connected enough. All right. So we basically, as a culture, don't like to ask for help. Well, there's something wrong with that, and I'm going to point it out to you in a moment. Here's the question. How does it make you feel when someone asks you for your advice and help? So, John Allen, I happen to see your picture on the screen. I only have a few people up because I'm sharing my screen. So here I am saying, John, we have some introductory comments, how we met, whatever it might be. And I say, I'm really interested in getting some information from you and some advice based on your background and expertise to get some information about this in this particular area. How do you feel?
I'm flattered.
You're flattered.
Feel looked up to.
How many times in your life has anybody asked you for advice?
A bunch.
Okay. How many
That
times do
didn't
you
sound
think?
nice.
Well,
I'm really flattered myself.
that's
I'm sorry,
okay.
go
But
ahead.
if you're the go-to guy with knowledge and experience, and people have, appreciate your knowledge and experience, and they come to you and ask for that, and you can mentor and coach, that's great. Okay. And I'll bet you love every minute of it.
Yes.
You enjoy doing that. All right. So we need to let people help us. It makes people feel good to help others. Don't you feel good when you help someone else? So since we feel good when that's done, then why don't we turn that mindset around to say, I need to give people the opportunity to help me because they would like doing so. They enjoy doing that. It will also, build a connection, build a rapport, build a relationship, and that sort of thing. And appreciative of the fact that you honor me and that you are willing to listen to what I have to say. Now, a lot of us in our work say, well, yeah, I wish somebody would ask me about something that I could help them with. I can't even get people to listen to my ideas as it is, much less when get asked for it. I can't even do that. Right. And so now somebody comes along and with the right words and says, and I'm not buttering you up, but I'm telling the truth, but I really respect and admire your knowledge and expertise in this area. And I value what you have to say to me. That makes people feel good. So that's all we got to do is approach it in that manner. And people would be a lot more willing to help us. Now, they still may fall on the not willing to help category and all that sort of thing. You still got to go through that. But you got a better chance of success by not feeling that asking for help is a weakness or something that's showing that it's less than you really want to show. So I'd like to change your mindset about asking for help by saying, let other people help you. It's good for them and it's good for you. So I'm in Kroger and I'm buying some groceries. All right, so what am I buying? Oh, just the necessities, potato chips, eggs, bread, butter, cookies, cheese, head of lettuce. I mean, I'm not one in there that's got all the ingredients for cooking. And she says to me, is that all you're getting? And I said, yeah. I said, actually, it was recently after my wife had passed away. And I said, I could cook about 4 things, scrambled eggs being 2 of them. So she said, I can help you learn to cook. I didn't even ask for help. Here's a person, a cashier in a Kroger store, and saying, I'll help you learn how to cook. And I didn't even ask. There are people out there that fit in that category of willing to help. And she probably has some good knowledge and skills about that. So there's I think a great story that tells us that people enjoy helping. Many people do. So let's look at the steps of an informational interview. What's the process we're going to go through? First, we got to get focused. We got to know who we are, what we do, and how we can help. We got to have these ideas because they're going to ask us some questions along the way as well. But knowing who we are, what we do, and how we can help helps us formulate who we want to talk to, what information we want to find, right? So if you don't know what job you want yet, it's going to be pretty hard to get focused on saying, well, only thing I can basically do right now is informational interviews to help maybe find the job that I want to do. And that's kind of the limit, but that's one of the things you can do. But if we understand our focus, that's going to help us quite a bit. Identify the position or information we want. Well, that sounds kind of stupid. Yeah, Walt, I know that. I'm a professional. I know how to do these things. You got it written down. You got it really solidified. If you got it down and say, okay, this is the kind and this kind of information I'm looking for, so that you can use that effectively and briefly in an interview, because these things can't be long. What are the people? Who should I talk to? So who are the ones that I connect? So we got to do some searching to find out where are the people and who are the people that can provide the information I'm seeking. I want to research the persons that I'm going to talk to. I want to research company, industry, all the information that I want to have prior to that interview, because I might want to say, you know, when I see where you recently had you bought another company and you had a merger, and so how's that going? Okay, that might give you some information. All right, and prepare scripts to get the interview. So I'm going to stop here and go into a little bit of detail about scripts to get interviews, the old practical side. Here's what I'm going to ask you to think about. I'm going to say to you, it's like, well, hi, Fred. No, I can't say that because I'm Fred. So, hi, John, I'm Fred, and I know you through so-and-so. I understand that you know Jason. Do you? Yeah, I do. I said, okay, well, great. Well, he suggested that I give you a call. And so I'm really looking for it's this specific type of information that could help me in with your thoughts on this. Let me start all over. I'm interested in whatever information we're looking for. So I'm telling them, and I'm looking to tell me some people who would know that information and any thoughts that you might have on any additional information about it. So and I'm going to tell you why I'm calling you. So John, I'm going to pick on you again because you're in my screen. I owe you money. I'll send you some. So why do I want to listen to you? Why are you valuable to me? Now it's Solomon. Solomon, you're up there on my list. John took himself away. But why do I want to listen to you? You know, what is it about you that I value? All right, I'm going to show you something about with your knowledge and expertise or background experience in and doing this sort of thing. I would really value the information that you have to give. And do you know anyone who could give me that information or fits this description? So I'm describing the kind of person I'm looking for. This is going to be a referral. And I'm describing that kind of person and asking someone to say, do you know somebody who fits that I might could talk to? So I'm asking for a first degree, or actually a second degree connection, because I know you and I'm asking for the second degree. So that's one way of doing it. So I'm requesting a referral. And another way, I met you. So here's one that I've met before. We've had some personal conversation or something. And I'm interested in exploring opportunities in the healthcare. I'm looking for finance executives who provide insights on the financing, as well as thoughts on how to make this shift in my career. I thought I'd use someone whose advice I value with your experience and background. I could be specific on that. And someone who might know the kind of people I'm looking for. Who do you know that could give me that information or fits that description? It's a little bit stronger than, do you know anyone? But do you know anyone who fits that information or description? So I'm telling you all the information that I can tell you to make it easy for you to select or find somebody or know somebody that fits that, all right? I gave you more specific information. I didn't say, you know anybody that can give me some advice and help me in my job search? I mean, that's a little bit blunt, but not a real example, but I'm going to the other end of the spectrum. So how can we ask them in a nice way through a relationship, through somebody that we have, to move forward to find out information? So I'm asking just for help. So Jeff might know a lot of people. Jason might know a lot of people. I want to give that example. But I want to be specific. What kind of information am I looking for? I'm looking for healthcare finance. Okay. I'm interested in making this shift in my career to another type of opportunity. I would like to find out about that. Now, when a contact does provide a referral name, we need to do some more work. We just don't say, oh, thank you. I need to do some due diligence, and I want to know and define the relationship that those two individuals have with each other. How do you know this person? Why do you think they would be a good contact? What's the best way you think it would be to contact them? I'm trying to get to a point where they say, well, I could call them, I'll send them an email, I'll do that. Where you get a warm call and don't make it up maybe to a hot call. Would you be willing to contact them and see if they take my call? So I'm warming up the call. It would be a lot better. I would like to, instead of going in and say, Jason, Jeff gave me your name, I would like to say, Jeff, would you mind calling Jason and see if he would be willing to take a call from me? Now, if he's willing to do that, then I get the feedback on that. Now I know that Jason's ready for my call, will accept my call, and I'm way down the road. So much stronger way to do that. Or if you don't have that, may I use your name when I call them? They'll probably think that you will, but ask permission anyway. And is anybody else? Sometimes we quit at one when we ought to go for two. Who else should I talk to? Would there be some other people? And then anybody else? Maybe there's three people. So don't quit. Some people know a lot of people in the area. And how can I help you? Is there something that I can do for you? You want to end every one of these interviews with how can I help you? Even if they can't think of a way to help right off or whatever, or maybe if you've determined a way, you might can talk about it now. But if you haven't, just the offer itself is a very, very positive thing. All right. So how can I help you? When the contact doesn't provide a referral, well, thank you. And so I might ask a few questions here. Is there any advice you can give me on what my next steps should be? All right, a little bit more general in the approach of who else or what else can I find out or what might be valuable for me to pay attention to? Is there any advice you can give me on how I might find this kind of information? Maybe you don't know a name, you don't have a person, but where can I go seek information elsewhere? All right. And one is an interesting question. What would you do if you're in my shoes? What actions would you take? So I don't know if you would ask all three of those questions, but I might pick one or two to ask. Don't just say, oh, okay, I don't have a name, and that's the end of the conversation. Keep going forward. And so I really appreciate your time anyway. And is there anything I can help? Is there anything I can do to be assistance to you? Typical calls. All right, let's talk about who you are, how you know them, heard of them, who referred you, how you found them. State why we want to value their advice, counsel, insight. You're in career search, like their thoughts, advice, information. What would you like to talk about, questions you'd like to ask, and how long you want to meet. So these are kind of specific structures to a call that you want to cover this type of information. Hi, I'm Walt Glass. I heard of you through whatever it might be, how I referred you find them. I really appreciate and know about your background in this area, or experience, expertise, that sort of thing. I'm in career search and I'm looking for some information to help me with whatever specifically in that is. So this is what I want to talk about. So I'm interested in getting questions about looking at the path I'm taking, or looking at the type of industry I'm focusing on, or whatever it might be specifically. All right. And I'd like to meet you. And so how long do you want to meet? 15, 20 minutes is generally the given rule of thumb. And you also can add to that, I'm really not contacting anybody to ask for a job. Now, this is a little questionable thing, but sometimes you want to make it clear that my purpose is not to give you my resume and ask for a job. My purpose is simply to gain information. So we can stress that. If they suspect that you might be looking for a job or doing it that way, this could be a sentence you use. No, I'm not at that point right now. I'm just trying to get some information to make a good career decision. And all right, and so this is a stronger close. I'll say, well, I'd like to get in touch with you sometime or something. Let's be specific. I said, well, Are you available on X date at Y time or A date and B time? So, try to get something specific. And if they're not, we still want to be specific in trying to set something on a calendar at that time. All right. So, well, here's a suggestion. I don't give these for you to read, but they are scripts that you might want to pull out yourself to say, how would I handle that? So I've got a referral. Joe Smith suggested I call you. I was speaking with Joe Smith, and he suggested I contact you. I'm in the process of making some important career decisions. He felt you might be able to get some valuable advice with your experience in the industry. My purpose in requesting a brief meeting isn't to ask for a position. Here I'm telling you, I'm not hunting for a job with you. My goal is to get advice, and there's our word advice, Christina, from you and some insight into the marketplace. Would Tuesday at 10, Wednesday at 2 be best for you? Right? Just an example. What are the key words in this example? Let me go back. What are the key words you see in that paragraph? Somebody jump in. Tell me what they see.
Valuable experience, requesting insight.
Brief meeting.
Brief meeting. Okay. So, in every one of these, I think there are some keywords that I think we can kind of work no matter what the situation is. Christina and I like advice as a key word. All right. Brief meeting. Again, we talked about advice, insight, and then the specific dates. Career decisions. I'm in the process of making career decisions. And it says experience in the industry. So I'm looking for industry information here. All right, good. With a referral, I was speaking with Joe Smith, so should I contact you? And so here are the key words. Process of making smart career decisions. Gave me valuable advice. Here's the brief meeting. Give me some advice and insight. So there they are in plain yellow. There we go. Here's the same type of thing with no referral. And it's I left out the greeting and that sort of thing, but you get to the point of saying, okay, I'm in the process of making some important career decision. Might be able to give some advice. My purpose is requesting a brief meeting with you. It's some advice. And it's very similar, but I don't have a referral. All right, Christina, this kind of might fit in your category sometimes. And when you're saying when I'm talking to people. So my question would be, what's the relationship with the person you're asking? Have you built some relationship first before you got into this? This paragraph is not what you say when they pick up the phone. When they pick up the phone, you say hi, and you say, how did I know about you? How did I meet you? Whatever it might be. Why is it that I'm calling you? I understand you have a lot of research and found you, and you have that, whatever it might be that says, this is how I found you. All right. In the beginning, you tell that. So then you can drop into this, because you don't want to just not let them talk. Say, hi, I found you this way, and I'm asking this. Right. You don't want to do that. You want to say, I understand you do this. Is there anything in common that you saw when you researched that person that you can bring out? Strong connection, strong rapport builder. So, I see that you also attended SMU or anything that's coming, or you worked for this company, or you've had similar types of roles that I've had in the past, or whatever it might be. Something where you can talk personally and let them talk a little bit too about themselves. Talk first. So this is how you do it. I found your name and contact information on the sales and business development database. All right. Keywords in a script. Career changes and decisions. I'm making some career changes and I'm trying to make some decisions. The purpose of this meeting is, or what I want to achieve in this meeting is, give me your advice, insight, a suggestion, a brief meeting. If you say 15 to 20 minutes, which is it? 15 or 20? Just give a number. Don't give a range because they're thinking 15 and you're thinking 20. So let's just make a specific one. And then specific scheduling. I suggest we avoid Monday mornings and Friday afternoons at all. Don't ever do it then. And then maybe a little bit on Monday afternoon or Friday morning. But you look back at your work career, and what does Monday look like? Monday looks like what? Meetings, initial meetings, a Zoom call, whatever it might be, that goes on. And you know, everybody's getting back to work. So Monday morning is not a really good time to ask for a meeting with somebody. And I suggest Fridays are not. We're trying to get everything done Fridays so we can have our weekend, particularly Friday afternoon. So I would strongly avoid Monday mornings and Friday afternoons, a little bit with Monday afternoons and Friday mornings, heavily on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. So what's the next step? Preparation for handling objections. So we've talked about people who don't have time or whatever it might say. And so we want to do some polite negotiation. So let's talk about that. Persistence in handling objections. I don't have time to see you, right? You've heard that one, Christina. So I realize that you're busy. That's why I'm only asking for a few minutes. Would it could be more convenient for you to do this over the phone? In other words, don't take no for an answer. Try to go beyond that. See if you can't get their permission to continue on to get some time. So just don't give up. Have a little bit of persistence, but make it simple and make it easy. Okay, well, just send me your resume. Oh, you may have heard that one a lot. Okay, I'd be glad to, but at this stage, I'm only looking for information and advice that would help me direct my job search. So yeah, I'll be glad to send it to you because I would like to know what they're going to do with it and all that sort of thing. I mean, but there's a difference between taking a resume, going in somebody's office, dropping it on this desk and say, here's somebody you might be interested in, or taking a resume and saying, here's somebody you need to talk to, right? There's two extremes there, the purpose of that. So that's why you have to have a resume handy because they may want to ask for that. Also, you might have that biography, the biography ready. See, the biography says I'm looking for a job, but here's who I am. Here's kind of what I've done. And here are some of the value that I bring. And it kind of tells those things. And it doesn't say I'm looking for a job. A resume immediately says I'm looking for a job. I want to get them away from that. I'm just looking for information. I've heard people, Jeff, you've heard people in meetings say, well, I'm looking for a position in North Dallas, right? And so if anybody knows of anything, so how many of us are going to run out and look for positions in North Dallas for this individual? Okay, nobody, right? Be specific on what you're looking for and how they can help and make it easy for them to do that. So if they want some information, they're going to give information to someone else. All right, so to talk to, I would surprise them with 2 or 3 bullets about me that I would like them to share with that individual before we meet. That way they're going to explain a little bit about how they know us and talk about us, but I'm giving them some brief information. So if you want to, you could include this about me and give a couple of items in there so that when they walk into the office and do something, they say, you know, here's this person, they are really good at, or they've done this kind of thing, whatever it might be appropriate. So make it easy, give them some information. Don't make them do work. I don't think I can be of any help to you. All right. Well, then my referral said, you know a lot about in this area of expertise. And I so know you know more than you give yourself credit for. And I'm sure that you know more than I do about whatever that is. So I'm trying to still keep them possibly to say, yes, I'll talk to you. Don't stop at the no. Sorry, we have no openings at present. I appreciate that, but I'm looking forward to it. So there we go. Same type of idea in the objection. So I appreciate that. Yes, I'll be glad to see your resume or whatever it might be, but just don't let them walk away. I get a lot of calls from job seekers. I'm sure it's because of your knowledge and experience, and that's why I'm going to ask you for a few minutes of your time. Okay, let me see you recruited. I'm not looking for a job. Remember, I'm not looking for a job. This would be very helpful, but I want to spend a couple to get some more specific advice and insight. I'm not really looking for it. Now, if I am looking for the information from the head of recruiting, this would be okay, because I might want to talk to that person. I don't have any contacts to give you. But what I'm looking for is advice and information, and your background and knowledge in that field is what I'm really interested in at this time. So here's the steps. We're getting down to number 7, prepare your questions. So use your research information. So there's lots of questions you can ask, but how many questions should we prepare? So you got 20 minutes. So if the average questions take 2 minutes to discuss, then 10. If at the end of your 20 minutes, and if your connection gives you permission to go longer, which happens, I need to be prepared with some more questions. Because you might say at the end, so, well, I'll say it's been 20 minutes. I appreciate your time and thank you for talking with me. So I am available if you would like to talk more or for that. Or they might say, well, come on, we'll talk some more. That means they're interested in you. You've built a relationship. That's a really positive thing. You got to be prepared for an extended meeting as well. Prioritize your questions so that the most important ones get asked, right? Simple thing. What's the most important thing that you want to ask to get the information you're seeking, right? And always include the how can I help you at the end. Be prepared to answer questions about yourself after they're talking about the information you've gathered. Well, tell me about you, and specifically, what are you looking for? Do you have some target companies? You might want to use them, some connections to target companies, depending on who you're talking to. So be prepared not to just get information from them, but to give information back. And that's included in that preparation slide that I'll talk about. If you've done all that, you've got the information you can talk about to them as well. Lots of questions out there, but conversations are great. Being personable, anything in common. Asking them, what led you to work here? What do you like most about your role? What's the most impactful training? I hate giving a list of questions because I don't really want to give you a list of questions. I want you to make them up, but here's some thought starters. What do you like most? What's your typical job? Ask the questions that get the information you're looking for. If it's culture that you're looking for as part of the things, what's it like working here? What do you think the most important attributes are for people to be successful in this company? My previous company, you had to have a sense of urgency. Deadlines were sacred, and there was a few others never appeared on the job description. So, questions you might ask. Here's some other sample questions. Typical day, job prospects. What firms do you think are your toughest competitors? How do you normally hire for this occupation? So here's a couple ideas about questions. And there's some more. Get focused all the way down to the interview itself. When you finally get to the interview, there's an opening to an interview. So you introduce yourself and what's the purpose? Talk about them first and be personal, all right? So these are left out of the scripts that I've talked about in the beginning. So I met you or heard about you or whatever it is, and I understand that you have background expertise in this. And so you know, you've accomplished quite a lot, or whatever it might be, to comment about something like that. Tell me, what do you think were some of the most significant things that happened in your career that led you to where you are today? So let them talk a little bit about themselves before you jump into your questions list. Get to know them, build the relationship before you ask for assistance. Do you remember that? Build the relationship first, ask for assistance second, always offer assistance. So then, give them a little information about ourselves that helps them help us. So I've been in this field, I'm looking for this field. I've been in this job, I'm looking for this. I've been doing this job for this kind of thing. And so I know a lot of things have changed or whatever it might be, or I'm interested in how your company faces the kinds of challenges and opportunities that these jobs hold, whatever it might be that says, here's something about me. Because if you just walk in and they don't know context from you, it's kind of hard for them to answer questions. But give them some of that. Questions. Use your prepared list to achieve our objectives and take notes. Now, over Zoom, you got to tell them you're taking notes. So I've got a notepad here. I'm going to be taking a few notes. All right. Show it to them. All right. That's pretty cool. That does help because they don't know what you're doing. and you're down there doing this, and you say, oh, I'm going to take a few notes. And so now they know that you're going to do that. So take some notes about what they say. Taking notes tells them what they're telling you is important to remember. It's a very, very positive thing. I'll punch the button on the wrong side. All right. Closing. We got to end it. Appreciate all your advice. It's very helpful. Should improve my career decisions considerably. In other words, I want to tell them that what they told me was valuable. It was great. It's something that I can use to help me move forward. But we don't leave it there. Can I ask you one more favor? Do you know other people who could also help me in this particular search of what I'm trying to do? I'm trying to conduct as much research as possible, and their advice might be helpful also. So a connection to another connection or more connections. To give you one, to know anybody else. It's always good when you're making connections to ask for others and ask in the plural. You know anybody else? Okay, great. How about them? Or can you give me 2 or 3? Something that would be very positive, because based on what relationship you've built with them, they say, oh yeah, well, you need to talk with Terry. Terry's great on this. He's been through this. He probably got a lot of information. Okay, great. And how do you know Terry? Okay, now I'm going to do my due diligence. What's the relationship? Would you call Terry and ask him if he'd take my call? We do all those things that back on that slide. Always looking for more connections and building our network. If they provide a referral, this is the process that you want to ask them about. How do you know them? When they give you a name, find out these questions and these answers. I'm just going to try to make it brief here. And if they don't provide a referral, give them their thanks. Appreciate your time and thoughts. So the closing, how can I be assistance of you for you? Reaffirm any commitments when you want to follow up. And during the coming weeks, should you hear of any opportunities or interest or people that would help me in that particular job search, appreciate you keeping me in mind, and how can I help you? Stay within the time limit, be prepared to answer questions. Have their marketing materials handy. Today, you can send it to them over online, and be prepared for that job interview. Last one is follow up. Send a thank you note. Nurture your connections, periodic communications with them, and inform those providing referrals of activities of closure. This is kind of a pet peeve of mine. I've given a lot of referrals and names of people to call, and about the most I've received is a thank you. I never heard what happened as a result of the referral. It would be great if when we get a referral that we call that person back. So I just want to let you know I did have a conversation with them. What happened, what was the result? Thank you much. That's a really strong relationship builder and nurturing your network. And then tracking, keep track of course, everything. So I suggest a table that you can sort maybe in Excel or something like that. So you can look at next steps, when, and whatever. Here's an example of a table that kind of looks like that. The key to all successful networking job search is to build the relationship first, ask for assistance second, and offer to be assistance always. I am 4 minutes over. I have sinned. I ask for forgiveness, Jeff.
No, great information. Thank you. Thank you. Questions from anybody? Questions?
No, this is good. This has helped.
A
Anybody
couple
else?
in the comments section. Sorry. Sorry about that.
Go ahead, Jason.
Well, we asked for
Yeah.
feedback. You gave it to us.
Yeah, I'd like your feedback on that. What can you suggest if you already have a warm referral? Referrals already reached out to you via email. Do you follow the same exact process, or do you kind of change it up a little bit?
So what's the next step? You said the referral is followed up with an email. I don't know what information, what does that mean? Hello? Went from hearing you twice to none.
Jason, you're still muted.
sorry.
There you go.
So you're saying to do the same email, exactly the same as you would do if you didn't know them?
Well, let's say you said the referral has sent you back an email. Is that right?
Right.
All right. What's the content of that message?
It says they said they'd like to get together with me too.
Who's the one asking for information, them or you?
Me.
You, okay. And so they like to get together. So
Right.
I would call before emailing. I would call and say, okay, appreciate your information. Let's get our calendars together. Would Tuesday 2 or Wednesday at 10, that kind of thing. They probably would say, well, no, those won't do. And then they'll try to, and you'll work out a date, but just go ahead and call them. I would call them before I'd email. I mean, you may have to email it back and say, here's my windows of opportunity. And you give them 2 or 3 windows, specific dates and times.
Right. If you don't have their phone number, then you have to go through email.
Right. If you don't have the phone number, if you can't find it out, right. So you have to do it that way.
Mhm.
But yeah,
I
but
always,
rapidly follow up, rapidly respond, okay? Show interest right away.
when I send out an invite or ask them if they have time, I always give them 2 options. And there are days that I'm open. So I usually keep my afternoons open just for this process. And they always take the later one, but that's okay. I say, I have Wednesday and Thursday open. What's good for you? Because they'll be I tell them just my afternoons are free and they'll pick a day and they'll actually even pick the time too.
I would actually change, I probably want to change my slide and say, how about from Tuesday from 10 to 10:40 or Wednesday from 2 to 2:40 or to 2:20, give a start and an end time on your request. Keep it brief.
Mhm. That's good. And another thing I did notice, those people I did connect with, they always talked longer because I would say, hey, our 15 minutes are up. And they're like, okay. And then they just keep on going. And next thing you know, you have an hour in. In fact, one discussion turned into an interview for me.
That's right.
Just that
It
quick.
can morph. An informational interview can morph into a job interview. That's why you want to be prepared for that job interview because it can happen, right? That's why you got your resume handy. That's why you have other information handy that you can provide. But yes. So people enjoy talking about themselves, right? Now, if they want to change the time frame, that's okay. So what do? When you schedule a meeting, I'd allot 2 hours. I'm not got anything else planned or committed for 2 hours from that meeting time. So that, I got to leave now. I got another meeting at 1:30. You don't want to do that.
Well, I think Walt can hang along. If people want to ask me more questions at the end of this, let me go ahead and just close out a few things real quickly. And then we'll be able to, if you want to hang around, I think Walt can hang around and we'll be able to answer any questions for you. All right, Walt, thank you very much. Next week, Jack Bick will be with us. You heard Walt mention Jack's name a couple of times. We'll be talking about power networking, how to create a network in 5 days. So Jack has written 2 different books, The Champion Way and Be Mission Critical. And as a career coach, he helps his clients, and power networking is one of the topics he will talk about next Monday at 1 o'clock. We're putting on training every day of the week, Monday through Friday. Hopefully you join us. We're on Zoom, we're on Facebook. Please let somebody else know. If you know somebody else who's unemployed, please let them know about the free training that we're offering. Tomorrow for LinkedIn Tuesdays, how to create a LinkedIn brand that tells your key contacts who you are, what you do, and how you can help. This is Terry Sullivan. This event will not be recorded. He doesn't allow his presentations to be recorded, so you'll have to watch it live if you want to see it tomorrow at 1 o'clock. On Wednesday, for Interviewing Wednesdays, Walt and Mark are taking the month of April off. And so we have a special guest speaker series during the month of April. Tony Bashera from Babbage and Associates will be our guest speaker. He's going to talk about the 10 biggest mistakes that people make in interviewing. So join us Wednesday at 1. Thursday, we also have another guest speaker with us for Effective Resume Thursdays, Andy Cook. Many of you know Andy from, she's doing many things around the DFW area and helping job seekers. She'll be our guest speaker talking about resume tips and tricks. And then this Friday at the North Dallas Plano Career Focus Group at 9:30 in the morning, it's Consulting Right for You. You can join us for that. And then at 1 o'clock, Women of Wisdom. They meet the first and third Friday of every month. If you want an invitation, you got to be a woman. You have to have some wisdom. Send it to wow@careerdfw.org, and they'll let you know about the Zoom link to be able to invite it, because they don't want the group to be 50 people. It would be too. There's a lot of interaction between the group. This session has been recorded. It will be on the Career FW Facebook page and on the Career USA YouTube channel. Please follow us on Facebook. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel. The YouTube channel looks something like this. Please click on playlist if it doesn't pop up to default to playlist. And don't click on the video, but click underneath it where it says view full playlist. And then what will pop up is a list of all the networking events, should be from the newest one posted down to the oldest. And you can scroll down and find the event or the topic that you're looking for. If you're not receiving emails about our workshops, please join the Career USA mailing list. Please send an email to Career USA, the + subscribe at groups.io. And I'll put this email address up here at the very, very end. Please note, Career FW, we're a 501c3 nonprofit organization. We have no full or part-time employees. Everything we do is, we're just here to volunteer. Walt's a volunteer. All the speakers are volunteers. I'm a volunteer. I've never gotten paid to do this over the last 13 years. We survive on donations. It pays for Zoom, it pays for the web names, the web hostings, and anything I can't get donated. So please consider when you get your next great opportunity to make a donation so we can continue to provide the services that we're providing. So thank you very much for joining us today. There's that email address. And if anybody else has questions, please go ahead, unmute your mic. And Walt, thank you very much.
Certainly. There's a question in chat from Brian saying, do you feel